Previously on the predictions episode.
Did it just land on Red Bull? Oh, it just landed on Red Bull. Will the voodoo strike Sergio Perez or Max Verstappen or both this weekend in Monaco? Tune in to find out.
So it's all about Sergio Perez now. He needs a lap to progress. Can he find the time? Oh, Perez goes over the line and he's out in Q1. He is out in the first part of qualifying.
And Verstappen's bailed out. There's chances now for Norris and for Sainz as well to get in the mix.
Being on, but Verstappen has had to bail out of it. Yeah, he's bailed out of the lap. He's done. He's not a contender. The man who's been on pole position for every single Grand Prix this year is sixth. Out immediately, and the red flag is flying.
Hey yo, Chris here, and thanks for tuning into the Delta. And what did I tell you about that voodoo wheel? Eerily creepy, and just I don't know how it does it. Every time it lands on somebody, it just casts a spell and ruins their entire weekend. I don't know how it does it. It was supposed to be a silly little bit, but at this point in time, I almost feel like it actually has the ability to curse whoever it lands on. But welcome to the channel. We just finished the Monaco Grand Prix today, and to say it was exciting would be a lie. It was not very exciting. It was basically a procession. But there were some things that occurred in the race that made it, relatively entertaining, if you ask me. So we'll talk about the 5 things that occurred, or 5 things about this race that are worth talking about, and things that maybe we can look forward to in the future. But first of all, if you enjoy the content, hit that like button, smack the like button, flick the like button, do whatever you got to do to the like button. It helps the channel out a lot. If you really like the channel, consider subscribing. But that's enough of that garbage, and let's just get into the list of 5 things that we can take away from the Monaco Grand Prix. And for number 5, we'll get it right out of the way. Charles Leclerc finally won his home race. He has had so many difficult bouts there in Monaco that, this truly felt like he got the monkey off his back. He had a great practice 1, a great practice 2, a pretty good practice 3, an amazing qualification, and then tidied it all up on a nice little bow on a package and brought it home on his home turf. Really kind of an emotional moment more than an exciting moment, because it's easy for me. I'm a Ferrari fan, so any win for Ferrari is great, but I don't know if you can be a fan of the sport and been following his struggles at Monaco for as long as he's had and not feel a little bit of happiness for the guy. He just did everything right. Yeah. For number 5, I think celebrating Charles Leclerc win in Monaco is something that should hit the headlines. It was great for not just him, but also for the team. It was great for the city. Great for just Formula One in general to see him finally get over that hurdle. But now we'll move on to number 4. The standings are now tight. This was what I was talking about, and the things to look forward to this race was not necessarily the race itself. I think everybody and their brother knew it was going to be a boring parade for 78 laps. So you had to really want to see how just it ended, who was going to DNF, who was going to finish strong, that kind of thing. So we could see the point standings at the end of the race, and certainly tightened it back up, where the Constructors' Championship is back in business. You got Red Bull with 276 and Ferrari with 252. that's just a 24-point gap. And McLaren, I don't want to say that they're out because they're not. Plenty of races still to go. We have no idea. And Ferrari and Mercedes or McLaren are neck and neck. So anything can still happen there. But at the bare minimum, we now at least have a 1 and 2 battle going on. And with Checo performing the way he's performing, it resembles much of last year, which can lead you to think that maybe the rest of the year isn't going to go as smooth for him. The standings are so tight now, in my opinion, that Max Verstappen can't win it by himself. He's going to need to have Sergio get some points and start producing out there, because at this current pattern, Sainz is producing and Leclerc is producing, and McLaren is also battling Red Bull to just be a thorn in their side. Red Bull is going to need to figure something out to start widening that gap. But as of right now, in my opinion, the Constructors' Championship is on. But now talking about Red Bull, we'll move on to number 3. While they had a rough weekend, I don't count Red Bull out. Sergio, I mean, his car got obliterated. So there's nothing you can do about that. Yeah, he had a bad quali and probably wouldn't have ended up getting them points anyway. And Max had a bad weekend in general. You know, he had an opportunity to get placed higher in quali, but banged that wall, screwed up his whole final hot lap there. So it just wasn't a good weekend for him. They still are a Red Bull. They still have Max Verstappen. And in my opinion, Sergio Perez is still not a guy that's bad. Like, he's prone to make mistakes and prone to have bad races. But isn't that for every team and every number 2? Like, I can say the same thing about my guy Carlos Sainz. Like, yes, he can win you Australia, but he can also make a boneheaded mistake and DNF or put himself out of the points as well. So I don't necessarily think Red Bull is now going to be in this spiraling out of control position where they're going to lose their spot. But they need to figure something out, because Ferrari's feeling themselves, right? Let's go Ferrari. They are feeling themselves, and if Red Bull doesn't figure out some sort of counter punch, Ferrari's gonna jump them. And if they're really not careful, McLaren is right behind them, because McLaren, in my opinion, is right up there, which is my number 2 thing to notice about today's race. I said after Lando's win that I think McLaren is the better team than Ferrari, compared to Ferrari, I should say. And I don't necessarily believe that now. Now, again, this is Monaco. There's no passing. It's hard to tell. There were some moments there where they were pushing, where you felt that McLaren was going to be, you know, where Lando was going to put pressure on Sainz or something like that. And then at the end of Imola there, I thought that, well, maybe it's just track dependent. And it's hard to tell. Again, it's Monaco, so we'll really have to pay attention to Canada here in a couple weeks. But I really feel that McLaren and Ferrari are one and the same. They're neck and neck, and it might just come down to who's having a good day, who's having a bad day. What track are we running? What track aren't we running? You know, is this track going to be good on tires and help McLaren, or is it going to be, or Ferrari? Is it going to be bad on tires and Ferrari's going to suffer, and that's going to make McLaren stand out? That's kind of where I am with the two teams. They are just going to duke it out for the rest of the season. Not necessarily for wins all the time, but for podiums for sure. I can see sometimes Piastri doing better than Sainz, and other times Leclerc doing better than Lando, and vice versa. They put them in any order. I think that the McLaren-Ferrari battle for the rest of the season is going to persist, and I'm here for it. That's going to make the season very, very exciting, especially with both of those teams applying pressure to Red Bull. Now, the number one thing that we can take away from Monaco is, well, it was probably still boring, right? Not much going on, but since it wasn't Max on top, I do feel that there was that bit of flair to the event. I think we can all enjoy how the race ended. I mean, unless you're a Max fan or a Sergio fan or a Red Bull fan overall, I'm not casting shade on you guys, but I have a feeling that many of the F1 fandom is sitting here going like, this is the excitement we wanted. Now, obviously, the race was boring, but like the way that McLaren finished and Ferrari finished and the points they earned for that, while Red Bull took a seat back on a bad weekend, we can now get excited for Canada and get excited for whatever races are to follow because they're heading back to Europe. I mean, like, I have a vision where Silverstone, one of my favorite tracks, and Spa, one of my favorite, even more favorite tracks, like, those circuits are going to be so entertaining if these standings and this competition level amongst the top three continue. Now, I don't like to leave out the midfield and the back markers in a video, typically, but in a race like this where everyone just, followed suit, I said that too. I was like, I don't necessarily think anyone's going to do anything too aggressive unless there is just a blatant opportunity, like, red flag, put on hards, stay on the whole time. Like, I know the competitor in Lando wanted to pass Sainz, and likewise Sainz wanted to pass Piastri, and Piastri wanted to catch Leclerc. But I did have a feeling that teams were just going to sit there and go, look, we are where we are, and we're just not going to be too aggressive because, God forbid, you spin out and bang a wall and screw everything up. We lose points. And the top 10 proved that because the top 10 who qualified finished in that exact same position. Monaco overall is a beautiful, beautiful track with very prestigious and great history. The question is always, should it exist in modern F1? I think right now where I stand, yes, I still enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix because I'm so late into the game. I don't have 20, 30 years of fandom experience. It's the one track that I can go towards and be like, oh, this is like what Formula was and where it was born and how it became, and I can at least be a part of that lore, which makes me feel a little bit better. Maybe I'm just being selfish. But yeah, again, I don't love Monaco. When I see it on the schedule, I don't sit there and go like, there it is, can't wait for this one. But I don't necessarily think it should disappear off the schedule either. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments if you think Monaco should stay or should go. And maybe if you have a legitimate reason, that would be cool too. Like I said, my reason to keep it is just it's a part of Formula One lore. Maybe in the future they can figure out a way to make the cars a little bit more geared towards that track. But right now, let's just keep it around because I like feeling like I'm a part of the community in that shape or form. But anyway, that was a long-winded 5 takeaways from the Monaco Grand Prix. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Oh my. Okay. Hey yo, Future Chris here. Just looking at some footage and editing and realized I didn't talk about the 2 little crashes there at the beginning of the race. The first one not so little, the second one kind of little. But yeah, Perez, thankfully he's okay. K-Mag, in my opinion, had no business trying to squeeze in there. There was no space, and what it just led to was a catastrophic accident that could have been really, really bad. And the fact that the stewards don't want to give him any penalty points for that kind of makes me believe there's some sort of conspiracy like Fernando Alonso says. So I don't know why he didn't get a penalty. He's been getting penalties all year for stupid shit like that. So yeah, until like you think he did, you think now that like it just probably looks bad for racing in some shape or form if they revoke a super license for a race or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. I guess we'll get an explanation, or probably won't, as time goes on. But yeah, there's the Perez and
K-Mag accident, and then you had the Ocon-Gasly accident where Ocon just kept pushing wide, right on that turn before the tunnel. He went airborne, ruined his car, had to get DNF'd. Gasly was absolutely pissed, and probably rightfully so, because you just don't need to do that with your teammate right next to you. I don't know what Ocon was thinking or trying to do in that situation. But yeah, nonetheless, Gasly probably has every right to be as upset as he was. Ocon even admitted there on the Twitterverse that it was his fault. But yeah, those were the two main incidences that I completely forgot about in the 5 takeaways of the Monaco Grand Prix. Woke up this morning and realized that I didn't put them in. So that's my little 2 cents. But we'll move on from there.
Until next time, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Bye, everybody.